What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Chris's Custom Collectibles, and today we are going to be pimping out the McFarlane Toys Gotham Knights Red Hood figure. I am in love with the aesthetic and look of this figure. By far, it's one of the most aesthetically pleasing figures I've come across in the DC McFarlane Toys range. Obviously, this is based on the upcoming game Gotham Knights, and today we're just going to be making him look a little bit better. We're going to just give it some separation in terms of plating and dry brushing and utilizing some silver rub and buff, shoe polish and stuff like that. But the first step is we got to take this guy apart. Now, a massive thank you to Justin over at Justin's Collectibles who gave me the heads up that the legs actually do just pop off and the diaper then slides off. I had no idea. As you guys saw in previous instances, I was using an X-Acto knife / Stanley knife to slice the diaper on the side and completely remove it. But just having those legs pop off is so much more easier. And then another viewer very kindly pointed out that I should be giving these figures a soap bath in some warm water to break down that coating on it that's gonna make that shoe polish adhere to it a lot more easier. So yes, we're gonna pull him apart, give him a nice soapy bath. So with that being said, let's get to it. Ooh, it is time for some good old shitty commentary, geeks and geekettes. Now look, I'm not going to lie, this figure is really easy to do in terms of the steps. Not a lot is required to make this guy look a little bit better. So as you can see right there, I'm giving him a soap bath just with some warm water and detergent. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is gonna break down that protective coating on the figure. It's almost like a wax sort of coating. In hindsight, I probably would have given it another pass on the limbs, as you'll see when we start to apply our black kiwi shoe polish that we're pouring out now. The torso reacts really well with the shoe polish. We can see it's not beading away there. And in this instance, we're not going to be dabbing away the excess. We're going to leave the entirety of the shoe polish to dry on all of the limbs, the torso, etc. Because what we're going to do is grab a dry scourer sponge later on and scrub away the excess. Now, as you can see just a little bit on the limbs that it's starting to bead away, and hence why I probably would have gone further and given it another pass with the soap bath. But in the end, it still gave me the result I was after. So again, we're going to grab our dry scourer sponge. I'm not going to wet it. Mind you, you can wet it. I just feel sometimes using a dry scourer sponge just gives you better results, and it also means less cleanup. Sometimes, you know, the shoe polish can liquefy and stuff like that. But as you can see right there, that's the result we want. This kind of cracked, creased, weathered type leather jacket going on. And mind you, the design for Red Hood in this game, I'm not gonna lie, is a little bit bland, but I do love the aesthetic of this action figure. He looks great. And as you can see right there, when we scour away the excess on the pants, we're left with all that beautiful detail in the pants and the creases, and just gives it a bit more depth. Now I'm just gonna grab a burnt sienna. This is a student acrylic mixed in with a bit of water, even though it looks a bit chunky. And we're just gonna go in on the boots. And what that is gonna do again is get in all that beautiful detail. And when it dries, it leaves them looking dusty, muddy, weathered, and very, very used. And I did this step on the death metal Batman figure from a couple of weeks back, and it just really helps bring out the detail in the boots. We're then going to grab some Silver Leaf Rub and Buff, and you guys know I love this stuff. Rub and Buff is great. So we're going to be going over some of the buckles, etc. And you're probably thinking, that's so minuscule, like, could you really be bothered? And yes, because it helps bring out the detail in a figure like this, you know, where there's straps, harnesses, zippers, as you can see right there. There's supposed to be little zippers on the side of his breastplates there, just from looking at reference. We're also going in and dry brushing over his magazine pouches, as you can see right there. Now, in terms of the gauntlets on the actual Red Hood from the game are pretty much a stark black, and that's why I decided to make an executive decision and go over these with the silver rub and buff, because other than that, it'll look way too bland, and it just kind of won't really unify everything with how we're going for the aesthetic of this figure. And I just feel that just a bit of dry brushing on those gauntlets, and even the gloves, as you can see, just brings out all that detail. And now I'm just stippling on the rub and buff where the shoulder bells are, because I do love those shoulder bells. It's kind of reminiscent of the Winter Soldier when you think about it and look at it in terms of the design aesthetic. And we're also going to be going over the knee pads, as you can see right there. So there is some creative liberties being taken with this figure. And once we put that matte sealer on, it's just going to dull everything and then bring those details back out. Because I feel with something like this, gloss does not work. And again, taking some creative liberty and some creative steps with the helmet. The helmet is, you know, next to no weathering from what I've seen in the game. And I wanted just some chips and scratches and stuff like that, scuff marks on the helmet to show wear and tear and history. And again, I guess that's what the aesthetic is that we're going for with this figure. It has to tell a story, has to have history, and that's why I want the red paint to have been worn off. Now, usually you can paint over this, but I just got a black Sharpie and went over his pull strings, his hoodie pull strings, and it was just easy. You know, it just means that there's less of a chance of wet paint getting on the torso. And I'm gluing back down those two strips there. I lifted them up so I could color them with ease, and just gluing them back down was nice and easy with some cheap and nasty super glue. And all that was left now was to grab our matte sealer, seal this guy up so we'll bring out all those lovely details with a matte coat, and then we're ready for the final reveal. And there we have it, guys. Again, this was pretty much an express episode. Not a lot of work was required, but this figure looks a lot better than what it was. Now, usually I would film my intro, but I look like absolute death right now. I'm currently in isolation until Friday morning at this stage, but I've been keeping busy with custom collectible work, so I hope you guys appreciate this little video. And with that being said, wherever you are in the world, please have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, Geeks, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.